Welcome, Frank Soonius. Once again, this is six
Six.
interviews. We've had quite the journey of prison.
Yes.
Sandra, I've been off to prison for 17 years, and you were in prison, and you've been out for 20.
More than 20.
More than 20. And it's so fascinating, this whole conversation around prison, things that you don't speak about easily or couldn't speak about before, and things I could not hear about from the inmates I see because it's just too horrible. Yeah, and we all do that, it's just not, we don't have to have it so extreme as living in prison. We get into our own pains and we're afraid to talk about it, not realizing that eventually when we do get to talk about it, we can kind of just like pop the boil and take that pain away. It's not forgotten. So Frank Soonius, Netherlands, Holland. You once upon a time, way back when, you were a basketball player. Tell us about that time in your life.
Well, it's really funny, and we discussed a little bit before we went live. And I'm making a presentation now for Barcelona. I'm going to talk about an event about mental health and how important it is. And it all started there, and that's where I want to go today with you. Of course, I was a basketball player. I was a successful basketball player. I was a successful coach. I was a successful tennis trainer, school. And then I had my own tennis school. And from there on, somebody asked me to do some research, marketing work for the government of Amsterdam. And oh my God, I loved it. I love working with people. I love interviewing people and get the stuff done. But you can overstep your boundaries, and that's why we have to talk about. Because I only overstepped, and only is a big word. I only overstepped my boundaries. I thought, if you're a winning basketball coach and a winning tennis coach, and you can help everybody, I'm the big guy. I can do everything. But then you overstep things, and you cannot connect the dots anymore. I just wrote, I had always my shadowland where I could fix everything. But when the real world comes and knocks on your door and you're not ready and you can't connect the dots anymore, you start running around and you become a mental patient of yourself. Would I ever expect from winning coach, winning basketball player, research marketer, priced all over, everybody was always, oh, let Frank do this, let Frank do this, let Frank do this. And Frank said all the time, of course Frank can do it. Where I should have said, that's not my cup of tea. I stay away from that. But I didn't. And guess what? I couldn't connect the dots. Became a mental patient. Was put on the wrong medication. Then dissociation hit me in my major depressive illness. Dissociation. You end up in a prison somewhere in Australia and you wake up in an isolation cell without knowing what happened there. And that's a crazy story, but I can now explain it in 2 minutes.
Yes. That's what we've referred to telling our story, collapsing the story. I mean, it wasn't that it didn't take, I think so often people look at you or they look at me or anybody who's overcome and they say, well, I want that, but they have no idea of the decades it took to develop it, be in it, and start to climb out of it. What you were describing with not saying no is how you get to burnout. Burnout's how you get into depression. And
Exactly.
And that was my journey, was to burn out. And it's so hard to ever give up and say, no, I can't do it all. And even in my coaching today, like just like you. I mean, we could do so many things. How do we narrow it down and say no to the other things? And that's what I was hearing from what you were sharing. So, Frank, you had all that freedom. And I know that you look at freedom differently than the rest of us, because being in prison is really when your physical, well, maybe more, your freedom is taken away in a way that doesn't happen for the rest of us, unless we're one of those victims of being kidnapped and locked and chained away. Yes, there would be some, but that's extreme. But you had freedom and you lost freedom, and that had to be a big impact for you.
Yes, but before that, that you don't notice that you lost your mental health, that you lost the dots, that you cannot connect them anymore, and you cannot stop it. And guess what? In my case, there was jail. And jail, I told you before, and I will tell everybody, jail saved my life. If I was not put in prison and they let me out straight away, because of course I was not guilty, I was only couldn't connect the dots anymore. So by putting me in prison for what I always say, for something I didn't do, but guess what? It brought me back my sanity. It brought me back that I couldn't run away from, because the dots were, I couldn't go to the next dot. No, I was locked in and somebody else had the key. So there, first I had to look at the most important dot in your life. Who is Frank Soonius?
Wow. Yeah.
That's the most important dot. Before you go to the other dots that belong to you and you will discover him, you have to find out, who is Frank Soonius? Is he really who he wants to be? The story you tell yourself about yourself when nobody is listening. Mm-hmm. How close are you from that person? What you want to do with your life? And I didn't have a clue anymore, because I was saying to everybody, yes, that's fine, I'm fine. And I took everything on me. But where is Frank in this story? Lost. Completely
lost, absolutely. And the sad thing is, I'm just checking back with the article to kind of follow along this story, is we beat ourselves up for our failures. We forget that we're human. Everybody fails. The little child learning to walk falls down how many times before they learn to stand up? And we think that's okay for the child, and then we don't give ourselves the same grace to fall, to fail, and get up and learn. And that has been amazing to me when we think about remembering people. I know it's so hard on the inmates because people only remember what I did. They don't get to see the rest of my life, and they only remember that one thing I did to get in prison. How have you been able to shake off that one thing that you did to get in prison, that you lived in prison? That's a huge.
Yeah. Let's say it this way. We wanted to go to the point that I was let out, and I was let out. I don't know how, and I don't know how, but it was on the 10th of August. The Olympics started in Sydney. They opened the door, and I was in shock. I thought I'd go to a different prison, so I knew the drill. I was standing with my clothes and with my few belongings, and waiting for the handcuffs. And you go to another prison or another cell. Who knows what's going to happen? And then no handcuffs, no nothing. Only somebody who gives you a hug and says, "Get out and be the gift you were always meant to be. You deserve it." And that's telling this now. It's always giving me goosebumps all over my thing, because
I know it gives me goosebumps.
Yes, it's still.
Yeah,
it's still
crazy
happening every day. That girl who gave me a big hug and said, oh my God, you deserve this so much. And I'm going to miss you, but get out, get out. And I'm going to miss you because, of course, the guards get to know you, and the guards really like me. They like talking with me about life and about their problems, and it forgot me where I was. That they give me the time. I forgot where I was. I was doing what I'm good in, is coaching, without knowing that I was coaching. And I was helping them. They asked me so many questions about their relationships and all those things, and I was coaching them. And guess what? I was a prisoner. I'm a mental patient, but I was not. It was coming together. It was coming together again. Of course, it was coming together. And then they let you out, and they put you in a plane. They call your family and say, in 24 hours, your son is going to be there at the airport. So everybody is in shock. And I still had to do 7 years. So they were shocked. They were not prepared. So they had to prepare something, but they had 24 hours. So everybody was at the airport, and they had a hotel for me, but I had no room. I had no accommodation to stay. So my mother put me in a hotel close by her house because she was a little bit afraid to put her in her house, because she wanted to see where is he? How far is he off? What happened in prison? How is Frank doing? And of course, they saw straight away that I was okay, because I could play okay. I could be the pretender. I could do if nothing had happened. So I knew I had to play that role, because otherwise they probably could be scared of me. So I went along with what was going to happen. But then, and we want to talk about that today, Sandra, is you think they're going to help you. They think they're waiting at the airport. They think they're going to say, hey, you have to go to this office. You have to speak with this guy. We have to speak. Guess what? There's nothing of that. They didn't even know I was coming. I was not even in the computers. I was not even have a criminal records. They couldn't even find my numbers. They couldn't find my ID anymore, because my ID was lost. I was wiped out I didn't exist anymore.
Wow. And I'm sure that's how it feels for every inmate getting out, even if they indeed weren't wiped out. When you get out, you're starting at ground zero or less than ground zero.
Yeah. And there it all started. But then you see, and I will say that the judge gave me only 11 years, but the rest of the world, most of all, will give you life in prison. Because you've got that sign now. You've got that sign if you're honest and you say where you come from. So from there on, I started straight away. Don't talk about prison. Don't talk about anything, and go new in life. You're rebirthed. So you have a new chance. And I went to a city. I never expected to go there, because I met a girl. And she said, she heard a little bit my story. She said, I like you. You can stay in my place. So it all went natural. And that's the way it always worked with me. Natural, because people can straight away see that I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm a little bit, of course, maybe, not stable enough, but still good enough for a girl to meet me in a club and say, you can stay in my place. You're a nice guy. And they were right. I'm still a nice guy. Was I confused? Oh my God, I was confused. Was I scared? Oh my God, I was scared. But that's why my book is called Trapped in a Dream, Never Lose That Drive. Because I always thought it will sort out. The best is still to come. So, okay, for the moment, this is it. I can live in somebody's house in a small room where she normally dresses herself to go out. And she gave me a mattress on that little floor. I put the mattress on the floor and say, you can stay here. And, and that's, for me, is so beautiful in life, because universe, if you give the universe a little bit more time, it will work out. You will find the people who will support you. They will see the goodness in you, and it will happen. But so many times we want it straight away, now and then, and if we don't get it, we get angry, and we get in trouble again.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
have
that's
good
the
tips.
recidivism, when people get out and then 6 months later they're back to do another 6 months to a year because they didn't learn their lesson, whatever that was.
And
You
I
get a
could
lot
have
of
done the
rules
same.
in
Yeah,
your
I
life.
had no money. And I told you, and I'm going to tell that story. Of course, I'm going to tell that story. That story of me going to a self-help, restaurant where you can take your food and go to the counter and pay. You can put everything on your plates and everything.
Oh, the buffet.
But when you walk in, you can always pretend if you forgot something and go to the beginning and walk with your plate out and sit where the people are sitting eating, and don't go to the other one where you have to pay, because I couldn't pay. So I had to do it that way. And guess what? I thought I was a good one. Every day, oh my God, it would get easier and easier. And I walked off with my whole plate full, all nice things. And I thought, this is easy. And a few weeks later, I'm sitting at that table with that free food. And a guy comes and says, "Do you like the food?" I said, "It's amazing. It's beautiful. Thank you." Can I sit with you? I said, "Well, be my guest." I thought, this is a nice guy. And then he introduced himself. "I'm the manager of this place. And why are you never paying?" was the next question. And I said, "Well, you want the whole story or a short version?" He said, "Well, start." And I started to talk about with this guy about what happened to me. And after 3 minutes, he stopped me. He said, "Enough, Frank. Can I call you Frank? From now on, every day, 5:45, you can do your little trick, because we always change the food between 6 and 6:30. It's new, and all the other ones goes away. So if you come 5:45, take whatever you want and eat. You deserve it. But promise me one thing: the moment you've sorted your life out and get your money and have a house, please come and order some food here and pay." How beautiful.
How beautiful. But you know what I think the magic is in so many times? We are so busy making up excuses and thinking up the lies to work it around that if we just give it up, be ourselves, be honest, be humble, that's what connects with people. I used to be late for meetings or whatever. I mean, before I realized that was just a control issue in myself. There's no reason for running in just at the last minute till I was caught right on it. That's control issue. Stop it. I don't care who you're talking to. You be on time. You be 5 minutes early to the meeting, and so on. And it was an attention getter. Oh, there's Sandra. She's always busy, rushing about here and rushing about there. And oh, look at that while she's getting done. It wasn't serving a purpose. Once I gave that up, didn't matter. I'd be on my time. I would do what I didn't have to be extra special. And that's what happens, So you were in there eating free food because that was the only way you knew to survive. It's interesting. You thought it was pretty slick until he came and said, "So what's this about?" And then you said, "Oh, the gig is up. I have to get honest." And it worked out just like the little pencil and the sheet of paper. This magic of those little gifts in life that are the huge ahas that turn our lives around every time.
If you never give up, if you always have that drive, the universe will work out, because you're going to love the next one. The next one you're going to love even more, because this story is so beautiful. I had a letter to get my money. And I was put on sick leave before I left Australia. I was on sick leave already for 8 months. But they stopped the money of the sick leave.
What
And I
money
had,
and what sick leave? I don't understand.
why have sick leave? When you cannot work in Holland because of proving that you're ill, they give you 70% of your last earned money.
But that was 5 years earlier.
Yeah, but
Oh
they
my
stopped
goodness.
that.
Okay.
They stopped
Okay.
that, but they're not allowed to stop it. They're not allowed to stop it. They should have kept it going, but they couldn't. So I found a solicitor. He said, Frank, do you know how much money you own? I said, no, tell me. He said, 150,000 guilders. I'm going to get you 150,000 guilders. And guess what? In 10 days, the money was there.
You mean they had to pay for the time that you were in prison as well?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they had to pay me. And some people
I think
have to
here
pay
in
$1
Canada,
billion.
I think in Canada, if you're incarcerated, you lose a lot of rights. So that money would.
Now, because of all those things, now in Holland too. The moment you go to prison, they stop it.
Yeah.
But still, I was in the old law, so I was entitled to that money. And guess what? I had to report myself at that government, and they say, Frank, you're 37. You've been to so much. Guess what? Till your pension, we're going to give you this amount of money every month. With the money we still own you, do you agree? Are you going to be fine with that? And I looked at the guy, I said, are you serious? You're going to give me 2,500 every month and I have to do nothing for the rest of my life? He said, well, yes, that's what we decided, because you're mentally unstable. You will never find something to do.
So was that out of the 150,000 that they owed you, that they broke that out?
Yeah, and
you didn't get the 150,000 plus 2,500 a month.
2,500 a month till you're 67.
Wow.
And I said, are you for real? He said, yeah, you're mentally unstable. You get in trouble. Please find some rest. Find a nice place to stay and make something. Go fishing. Go and find yourself and do something. And now, oh my God, you're going to laugh. I was in shock. I walked off, and who would not take that deal? You know, so many people don't even make the half of this money and have to work 40 hours. And they give it to me for free because they think I'm mentally unstable. And then I walk to a shopping mall to get a coffee. Guess what? I'm a rich man. I'm damn rich. I can sit wherever I want to sit and take the coffee. And, you know, I was really, that's the first thing I'm going to do. And guess what? There is a call. Hey, Frank, is that you? And I looked and I see a beautiful 19, 20-year-old girl. She said, I'm Susanna. I said, please help me. You know, I've been to a lot. I'm one of your pupils from the tennis school 7-8 years ago when you were you made me my assistant. I couldn't play tennis. I was really bad. Guess what you did? You made me your assistant. I said, oh yeah, the little one with the red curly hair. Oh yeah, I know now. She said, I'm now a lawyer. I'm studying law. I said, well, maybe we have to talk. But she said this. What are you doing at the moment? Well, you don't want to know. I've been to a lot. I had a little breakdown. At the moment, I do nothing. Oh, no. She said, I've got a new tennis club in my village, and they're looking for a tennis teacher. I said, well, skip me. You know, I'm doing fine. You know, please leave me alone. I have to sort myself out. I'm mentally unstable. That's what I was thinking about myself. Don't. And she said, well, no. Please come Wednesday. Look at the children. Oh my God, you're gonna love it. And guess what? I told you before, the universe will provide. Because I walked that Wednesday to that tennis court and I saw 8 children with their new rackets, with their new shoes, waiting for their new teacher. And 24 hours later, I was the new teacher.
Wow.
I was mentally unstable for the rest of my life. They gave me money. And 24 hours, the universe proved them wrong. I was there for 15 years, their tennis teacher.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing.
And only because of that girl remembered me, I made her the tennis instructor assistant, because guess what? She couldn't hit the ball, but she could bring all the other things she could help me with. So it all
Oh
worked out.
my.
It always works out. And I love being a tennis teacher because I was born to do that. So, I was back home. But somebody said, "You're mentally unstable. Stay away, go fishing, and please don't bother everybody."
And we listen to them.
Of course we do. But the universe said, "No, you've got better things to do, Frank." And I did for 15 years.
Wow. Now, in that time, I'm just looking over here, PTSD raised its head, of course, naturally. I mean, I wouldn't even question. I imagine anybody that goes to prison, period, probably has PTSD. If they didn't have it before, they sure got it when they walked through those doors and survived life in prison. But yeah, you were in crises for many years, going in, and then all your time trying to stay alive in prison because it was a dangerous place. So it was a pleasure when they actually locked the door so that you could relax and not be watching your back, which is always interesting because that became your freedom, was when the key locked the door so you could,
Yeah.
And still the freedom of being out on your own. We can't always all handle all the freedom, which happened when you became mentally unstable and into dissociation. But it's interesting, when you were back home, then of course you got into a lot of therapy for a number of years, I imagine. And there was a fellow called Bert that kind of knew everything about you. Tell us a little bit about your therapy years.
Because of that money, you have to go to the psych people, the therapy. You have to go. Otherwise, you don't get.
So there's conditions attached to that money.
That's attached. You have to go and see a psychiatrist and psychologist. And because I was on medication, you have to go there. And there I met Bert Sparreboom. He is the biggest guy you can get in Holland if you're suffering from what they thought I was suffering from. And I had 10 sessions with this guy. And I don't know for sure if it was the 10th or the 11th session, but when I came, he looked at me and he said, "Frank, this is the last session." I was a little bit shocked, because you thought you were doing well. And, when you're coming there and, everybody is happy and my girlfriend was happy going there, everything is under control, blah, 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 blah. He's going to therapy, so he must be okay now. So
I love this because we have such distorted ideas of people with and without prison. Prison doesn't add this part, that this is just what we do to each other every day of our lives. Must be okay.
Yeah, because so many people wanted to hang out with me and more because I was under control. I went to my therapy. I did the things. I had my medication. And guess what? That session, Bert said, "I'm going to stop." And I said, I was a little bit, why? Why? We're doing so well, I'm doing well. I've got a job. I'm working as a tennis teacher. I'm doing well, please, why? He said, well, because of you. And I looked at the guy and I said, what do you mean? I said, well, you tell me all the time that it's really important for your mental health to not burn out, that you do what you love. And guess what? Doing this work for so long is not making me happy, Frank. I'm exhausted. I'm burned out. I don't want to do this anymore. So please find yourself another therapist. But I'm going to do what I really love. And that's your fault. And not many people are going to like you because this company is going to miss me because they have nobody else to do this job. But, that's not my problem. I'm going to do what I really want to do. And guess what? You have to stop going to therapy too, because I think when you can convince the biggest man for PTSD here to do what he loves, guess what? I think you're ready for the world. It was beautiful. It was amazing.
I bet you had a feeling of freedom and panic all at once.
I jumped out of, and the world belongs to me. It's what can happen. But that was also a little bit not that was a little bit overreacting. But but of course, I had to stay under control. So they give me a psych coach who looked at you, and every month, 1 hour, we have to talk. And sometimes we did it during fishing. We had fishing trips, and we talked. And he said, "Well, you're doing well. Go on your way and be the gift you were always meant to be. I think you're doing well. But the moment you feel that you're drifting off, please give me a call. Here's my number." And that's how it worked. And I never called him. And he was only waiting for my book because I told him I'm going to write a book because I met Nick Vujicic. And, the next steps was there. It's all in the universe. It's already written. I think it's already written.
Wow. So there's Frank, out to freedom, got his book, heading off to Barcelona to speak about mental health. Wow.
I'm a specialist. I'm the man with the brilliant mind.
We had such a great talk last week after we ended the live streaming about the mental health and all of that. So I think likely we've got some really good conversations coming up with that. I'm just going to check here. Life Today, that's kind of where I brought it to. It's a new dream. You trapped in a dream. You were trapped in a dream. You were trapped in a nightmare.
And maybe I'm still trapped in a dream because, oh my God, I can see myself on stages with Nick Vujicic. And and that's fine. That's fine. Even if I never reach it, guess what? It's a beautiful dream, and and let's see.
No, I think what happens is that somewhere in that mix, we look at where the scary place was there, and then the dreams as they start coming, it's hard to believe that they really exist. And then we start to understand that imagination is what God gave us as a child. And we as a society started saying, no, this is where you belong. This is the little place that you belong. And we bought it and we bought it and we bought it. And I would say for myself, and probably yourself as well, that the journey decade by decade by decade has been breaking those old rules that don't serve, keeping the ones that do, because it's a sorting and a filtering, in my opinion. We don't want to give up family and love. And then even though we had a lot of challenges, we don't want to give up. I think what we have to look at is, where did society say that this round peg belonged in that square hole over there? And we allowed others to we thought they were guiding, and in many ways they are. I mean, you think about our school teachers. They're doing the best that they can, but they also have society that tells them this is what a child is expected to do, sit in those straight rows, and if you wiggle around in your seat, there's something wrong with you. Where that child just needs activity and maybe be outdoing the experiential
Sandra,
challenge.
how long can you stay yourself when the world is telling you different? You know, when you're born, your life starts told and taught by others.
Mhm.
But somewhere, that is not your life. Somewhere, that dot that they want you to go to, you want to go to another dot. And then you need that support of people who will bring you to that next dot. And that's where it goes wrong, when we start to live up to the expectations of other people
Yes.
and think we're not good enough. And most of the time, when you think you're not good enough, you are not good enough, because the universe has something else for you, something better, something bigger.
Mm.
That's why I always say, doubt less, fail more. And after that failure, dream even bigger, because that failure is only telling you that's not for you. But something bigger is waiting for you. But we want to rewrite that page because we think, oh my God, that was a failure. No, it was not a failure. It was not your page. It was not your best chapter. But go to the next one. And if you don't like that chapter, guess what?
You can change it.
Change another one.
I was the longest time. I have to really say, thank God for Al-Anon, which was the Al-Anon. AA is for the alcoholics. Al-Anon is for friends and family and people who have been affected by somebody else's alcoholism. And we learn that the ism is there for all of us, because for us to be attracted into it, we had our own ism, and mine became workaholism, you know, to run away from unhappy relationship. You know, so it doesn't, but the tools that I learned through Al-Anon survive every moment of my day, even now. And to understand the growth and the possibility of just being ourselves. When the other day at Toastmasters, the little introduction was, if you could be any age right now, that other than what you are, what would it be? I thought, I'd be a teenager. I'm back to being a teenager. I'm having so much fun. And then I realized it was a truth for me. So
Yes.
in my joy, I'm that teenager, you know, just the adult body says, well, you got to do certain things, and that's okay. That's the crone and the wisdom. Being married together in this one person, me being me. And every once in a while, we still, you know, I'm sure we all kind of stumble along and think, oh. And then I get together with Frank and he says, no, Sandra, there's something bigger out there for you.
Yeah, I want to know what it would be if I grow up.
I'm going to end it on that note because, you know, Frank, you and I both know we ain't finished growing up yet. I had an interview in Pakistan. One of his questions was, what do you want to be when you grow up? I thought, he hasn't looked at this.
I still don't know.
And I loved it. I thought that was the best question yet. What am I going to be when I grow up? And I thought, I'm going to be just the teenager that's 105. I'm just going to keep living and imagining. And imagination is so critical. That's why the universe can do its magic. So thank you for reminding me to stay in my imagination. Allow that to happen. What's your final words to our audience? Because I think this wraps up the prison segment of series of 6. It's been amazing, Frank. I'm so thrilled.
I will always, everywhere I end, I will always end with doubt less, fail more, dream bigger. And the best is still to come. The best is still to come for everybody, because we learned today from everything we did wrong or did right or whatever we did. But learn and know that the best is still to come. Your best chapters are still to come, because we learned today. That's I want to end always like that, because it's the truth. You know it's the truth, and I know it's the truth. And what's going to be tomorrow? I know. Let's see. Let's see. I know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but it can change like this. And be open. Be open. Be open for new possibilities, for things you never thought about. It can happen in an instant. I never met you, Sandra, and I would never have talked about prison, and I would never found so much in myself. And I'm now writing a talk so easy because I was open. You opened me up. And sometimes you need people in your life, to your support team, that open you up, and then you start flowing again. And it's that's what I told you. Today it's not ended yet, but for me, I notice now that every day has something new for me, and today is the most amazing of all the 6, I think, for me, because I feel like that. I feel that I was so open and so easy to talk, and all because of somebody I met on Clubhouse and who give me that next push. So be open for that next person.
Wow.
Thank you. That's my way to say thank you to you.
And thank you, Frank, for pulling me along.
I'm so grateful.
It's wonderful. It's Coach Sandra, Compassionate Queen of Straight Talk, saying goodbye for today. Thank you so much to Frank Soonius of Netherlands, Amsterdam, and his Trapped in a Dream. We look forward to talking to you again. Thank you, Frank. Bye, y'all.
Have a great weekend.